if you had listened to the advice in your head, it would have been bad advice. But your voice in your head did give you voice-based advice based on the information it knew. It just started spitting out ideas. Don't call those, right?
I think often the advice we get from the voice in our head isn't good advice.
Correct.
Welcome to The Growth Mindset, the podcast for ambitious real estate and mortgage professionals. Hosted by Adam Crosley and Rick Riddle, this show dives into entrepreneurial strategies, sales techniques, and mindset hacks designed to fuel your career growth. Get ready to learn from top producers, gain actionable insights, and start your journey towards success. Here's your hosts, Adam and Rick.
Buongiorno, everybody. It's Rick Riddle, and welcome to this episode of the Growth Mindset Podcast. I'm your co-host, Rick Riddle, with
Adam Crosley.
How we doing, Adam?
Rick?
Doing okay.
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
We're going to have an interesting
conversation today, huh?
What's that?
We got an interesting conversation. We were just talking about in the green room here.
Yeah.
Good conversation today. A little different than normal, but I think we can tie this into the growth mindset and what we do here.
Well, we're going to try. We're going to try to do that. But I will tell you this, like everything, I know a lot of listeners give us feedback. So hopefully after you listen to this episode, give us feedback on whether it's made any sense whatsoever. If it's relevant, let us know. If it's not relevant, also let us know.
I love it.
So I'm in the middle of a book that my good friend Megan introduced me to called The Untethered Soul.
Ooh.
Have you heard of that book?
Just briefly when we were talking in the green room.
Yeah, so it's very tied into like Hindu, Buddhism, spirituality, ego, id, superego, way above my pay grade as just a sales guy. But what I liked about it, it can relate to the growth mindset and sales. So I'll kind of lay it out now. Full disclosure, for all the listeners that have listened to this book, I'm only on chapter 3 of about 18 chapters. So I don't want to be like, I'm only on chapter 3, right? But
and I've got this is something I don't even know if you know this about me, Rick. But I did a couple of years ago, I went down this big like transcendental meditation thing, and there's the Bhagavad Gita and a bunch of different things. So I kind of was studying some of this, and it's actually really, really cool. And I think it's relevant for salespeople.
Yeah, I mean, so let's dive into what I know so far on the book.
All right, let's hit it.
On the first 27 pages or whatever. So the concept of the untethered soul is there's a voice always in your head, giving random thoughts. It never, as it says in the book, never shuts up. And it asks the question or poses a question, who is that voice in your head? Is the voice
you?
Yeah,
a little angel on your shoulder. Who is the voice?
Yeah, and in chapter 3, I haven't figured that out. However, what they are basically saying is it's not you. It is just your brain doing something, and the thought is your brain never stops, and it really doesn't. Even when you sleep, you're coming up with dreams that aren't. Your brain doesn't stop working. So it's literally looking inside your Rolodex and just spewing off shit to spew off shit, right? It's like, think about it. If you're walking down a street, looking at, or you're walking through a park and you're looking at trees, and all of a sudden you just pop in your head some random thought of something from 10 years ago, and then it starts rambling on. It's just your brain looking inside your Rolodex in your head and just of thoughts, images, and stuff, and just let me keep on working. And it's funny. So what they said in the first 3 chapters, where my takeaway was, just put a body to that voice that's not you, and just observe it, and listen to it for what it is. Right? Listen to it as an outside person, someone riding shotgun in your car.
Yeah.
And I thought about it as we're talking about today's podcast. We make a lot of choices and make a lot of decisions, most of them limiting our belief system, or can we do it, right? Based on the voice in our head. We get angry, our emotions, angry, sad, despair, negotiation, right? Believing you can do something or not. Positive thoughts, negative thoughts, all come from the voice in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I think about myself. I think I'm good at what I do because my voice in my head gives me chess moves. Like I try to think 3 or 4 moves ahead in business. But I spend probably a lot of time pondering scenarios that will never play out. And I make decisions based on facts, observations that I don't have all the data. That my brain's like, blah, 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 right? Like it's telling you all this stuff. And they gave an analogy in the book, right? Like you're sitting in your house waiting for your girlfriend to call, and your girlfriend doesn't call, right? And all of a sudden you're immediately going into your head, like all the problem, your voice in your head's like
all the things that could have happened. Yeah.
And it's basically, you know what? When she calls, don't pick up. You'll show her, right? And if you chose that advice, right? Maybe that's good advice, maybe it's bad advice, but you choose that advice basically just because the person hasn't talked to you in 6 hours. And they give an analogy is the girl calls, you do decide to pick up, you don't listen to the voice in your head. And it's like, oh, today's our anniversary. I went to the store to pick up something for dinner, and you forgot you even had the anniversary, right? And it gives this whole kind of scenario of like, if you had listened to the advice in your head, it would have been bad advice. But your voice in your head did give you advice based on the information it knew. It just started spitting out ideas. Don't call those, right? Like
I think often the advice we get from the voice in our head isn't good advice.
Correct. They said if you so when you're listening to so again, chapter 3 of a 15 or 18 chapter, a lot of chapters, basically said, step 1, just observe it for what it is.
Uh-huh.
And you'll realize A, it never shuts up, and B, it gives you advice unwarranted or not, and C, it gives you advice based on limited knowledge.
Have you ever tried meditating?
It talks about that. I'm starting to.
I'll tell you, I meditated yesterday, just randomly. I happened to be, it's a long story, but like I happened to find myself with some time, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and meditate for a while. But I don't meditate very frequently anymore, just kids, whatever, and I need to carve out time to do that. I focus more of my free time on my health, but that's besides the point. But I bring up meditation because, dude, like when you sit alone with your thoughts and try and focus on, so I was a practitioner of transcendental meditation. So everybody is given a mantra and you focus on your mantra. Other meditations are you focus on your breath. You just focus on something.
Mm-hmm.
Mantra, breath, whatever it might be. And in doing so, the guy who taught me transcendental meditation, he said, your brain is often like clouds in the sky. And but the clouds are thoughts. And you just need to sit there and notice like them go by and not focus on them. Just, okay, have that thought and have it pass. Have that thought and have it pass. And really you can start to transcend and get into an enlightened space, has been my experience, when there is no thought. And it takes like if you sit there and sit for 20, 30 minutes, it takes 20 minutes to just not think. And then And often, especially when you're starting the practice, then you'll like start to then go down thoughts. And you need to just bring yourself, okay, I'm realizing I'm focusing on the thought, stop that and get back to whatever it is you're focusing on, whether it's your breath or whether that's your mantra or whatever else it is, because we all have this person or this voice or this ego in our head all the time. And it never, I mean, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep to the middle of our night, whatever, it's there. And separating yourself from that is so incredibly hard.
Yeah, I don't think that I've started to do some breathing meditation at night just to go to sleep easier. Trying to do that, go to sleep without having to take weed gummies at night, by breathing and by giving that.
How holistic of you.
Yes. It is really hard.
I know shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of nothing. My brain always thinks of something. And I think it's really hard to think of nothing. But I do think, so what I'm doing is constantly, I guess it's breathing meditation, right? Like I've downloaded an app of Breathe. I think it's called Breathe app. It's like, and it literally is like hypnotic, like calm voice, like breathe in, and then I fall asleep before.
Yeah.
It's always 28 minutes long. I've never gotten to the end and be like, all right, what's next? So it is I guess I started last week. I guess I started Friday. So I'm 3 for 3 of falling asleep without getting to the 28 or 38 minutes that it's over. So,
yeah.
And I get a good night's sleep. Except I think I did take a week coming one of those nights, but it definitely, I definitely see the importance of getting better night's sleep and getting a clear head by that meditation. But I also think, as it relates to this, and we've had our coach Kevin Gillespie on in the past talking about call reluctance and your monkey mind, and I think that it relates to that. Sometimes our mind is what is holding us back from growing, and because we start not only starting to doubt, right? That's the monkey mind, and starting to protect us by like, don't go out and prospect, don't go out and get rejection, because nobody likes rejection, right? Even the people that say, "Oh, I don't mind," they mind.
Yeah,
especially sales people, right? Because
agree with that 1,000%.
But they've learned how to. The next no, every no is closer to a yes, right? We talk about all those different things, right? No doesn't mean no, or no doesn't mean they don't like you. It just means they don't have enough information. We've talked a lot about those different types of things in previous podcasts. But going deeper, I was kind of, as I'm listening to this, as it's telling me like my voice in my head is not me, I was like, whoa, really? And I think they use that same cloud analogy, right? Like they are just thoughts, and your brain is going to keep on thinking and coming up with wacky thoughts. And it's your job to just observe and watch them go by and stay focused on, the task at hand. And I think that is really, really relevant in sales, right? Like, is that I noticed that I think about the mortgage business way more than 750 hours a year, right?
Yeah.
I think I listen to it. I think about it all the time. How do I grow this business? Who do I recruit? What do I do? And I'm an internalist where I don't accept outside forces, rates, real estate market, right? Like all those people are like, oh, the real estate market's tough. Oh, interest rates. Oh, my underwriting.
You don't let other things define you don't let other circumstance define your situation.
Correct.
Right.
But I do allow my inner brain to contemplate. So it's kind of eye-opening that, you know what, your inner brain or that voice in your head that's talking, and sometimes you're responding, or sometimes you're watching a conversation go back and forth between two voices in your head, are not necessarily
little devils on either shoulder, right?
Yeah, devil. I don't know. It's two devils. Hopefully, it's a devil and an angel.
Devil and an angel. I mean, it's yeah.
But I think it's for our listeners that are looking to grow, I think just a simple concept of the thoughts in your head are literally just thoughts from an outside person. Or if you viewed it as an outside person, would you still act the same way? And that's where I think is interesting, because I think you can grow farther if you don't always listen to the voice in your head.
Okay.
Or you at least understand it's a voice with an opinion, very opinionated voice. And, I think that we limit ourselves we limit some of our capabilities because we take the advice of the voice in your head. And the voice in your head is only looking at partial information or opinionated information.
Or emotional information. Again, it's not rational, right? I've murdered people in my head before,
That's why we don't do this podcast together.
No, but there's so many things, that I'm sure we all go down rabbit holes in our head of different things, but obviously we never act on those things, or, good, bad, and ugly. I mean, and it's really pulling apart that you're the listener of the voice in your head is who you are. You're not your ego or whomever it is or whatever it is that is the voice.
Yes. So that it's funny that's basically what it's like. I don't remember, because I get confused of like who, like Hindu or chakra. It's like, and it was like someone said, "Who are you?" And you are your thoughts. No, not really. You are your observations, right? And it's
we're the observer.
Right. You're right. It's what you observe, and then
and I think that's so true, because here's a great story. And I forget who. There was a study that was done, and biological twins, right? Identical twins lived the same exact childhood and everything else. And there's kind of an argument on that nature versus nurture, right? Everything is there. One of them is in prison, doing life in prison. The other one is the CEO of a top 500 company. And when they did this study, the wild thing was they both had the same exact answer to the question. How come your life went like this? Well, my childhood was this, so of course my life went like this, is what they both said. But they had it in different context, right? Like, so the one that was, in prison, I had such a terrible upbringing, of course, this is where my life went. The other one, I had such a terrible upbringing, I was able to leverage that to make sure my life was never like that. It's all about the observation of the one inside of you.
Yeah. I guess it's, do you allow external forces, things that happen, to inspire you or to crush you, right? To make you stronger or make you condone.
Do you know Renee Rodriguez?
No.
Renee is he's a good friend of mine. He does a lot of like mortgage coaching, and he does other stuff outside of mortgage, but he's really good on storytelling and everything else. One of the things he says is 95% of your happiness is how you retell your story to yourself. And there's times that like I get punched in the face and I have to retell my story to myself because like I don't want to go down the negative rabbit hole.
Well, it's fine. I think we talked about in a previous podcast about I'm very good at getting on the podcast and telling about books that I never actually finished, but I get
that's all right.
And then I get another book, and but I think we talked about what's the one that the Eagles player read that
oh yeah, I remember
Inner Excellence, right? Yeah. And it is just that, right? It's the internal story is what, those pains and those trials and tribulations right? They can either crush you or they can inspire you, right? And it's based on the narrative that you create. And I agree. Like one of my coaches said to me, things will be thrown at you and that you can't control. But one thing that you can control is how you react to them. Right. And so, you and I could get thrown with the exact same scenario, and you may be really, really mad and angry and have a temper tantrum. And not that you're the temper tantrum guy. I don't think either of us are, but you could have a temper tantrum and storm out and be like this.
I've had temper. Ask my wife, dude. I've had temper tantrums.
There you go. And then, someone else be like, all right, well, I observe it. And like you said, this is the story and this is the obstacle I got to overcome. All right. How do I leap over it? Right. And I do think that those that look at adversity in the face and say, all right, I'm going to figure out a way to overcome it, usually win. Because in most cases, that hurdle is just a hurdle.
Yeah.
It's not a wall that it's not an impenetrable, I don't know if that's a word, wall. And on the other side of the wall is usually worth it. But because we don't know what's on the other side of the wall, our voice in our head said, oh, you get over that wall, there's bazookas and machine guns and serial killers right behind that wall. So don't go behind that wall. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess, hey, that's a wall. Some people are like, oh, that's a wall for a reason. I guess I'll turn around. And others are like, no, I know there's gold on the other side of the wall. I know it's just an obstacle. I'll climb the wall.
You're out of the way. And we'll go over it. Exactly.
It's the rejection mechanism, right? Like we as salespeople get a lot of rejection. And as long as we know it's worth it, especially as it comes to referral partners, right? As long as we know it's worth it, then that half-made bridge or half-built bridge that now there's an obstacle, we know it's still worth continuing. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened, and this kind of leads to our business, and I know we kind of went off tangent a little bit, but I think what happens is a lot of salespeople, loan officers, if you're a manager recruiting, you want the win and you'll take the path of least resistance to get the win. But what happens is if you're building a relationship with a realtor and you win them over, and then you realize they don't do any business. So there's no obstacle. You avoided the obstacle for the whale because there's this big wall that you don't think you're ever going to get through. So then you say, I'm going in a different direction. And then you run into a different opportunity. But you didn't really vet the opportunity, and now it's easy. Like, I got it. This realtor loves me, right? I recruited this loan officer.
That realtor doesn't do any business, is going to talk your phone ear off all the time, and you're never going to make any dollars from it.
Right. But you got the adrenaline rush or the dopamine hit that you succeeded.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things from our business is the pre-approach is so important.
Yep.
Know that, and we talk about this all the time.
Well, you got to make sure it's a targeted person that you're talking to.
Yes. Don't go build business with any realtor. Go find the right realtors. And look, that doesn't necessarily mean the whale. It could be the up and comer. It could be the one that's doing activities. Right. It could be, there's a lot of what is the right,
But you're not telling it too, like, especially anybody out there in the mortgage space that's like, I love calling on whales.
Yeah.
And one of the things I find, I almost think it's like a chart. Like, I think the people that don't do any business are super easy to call. And I find that whales are also super easy to call. Because nobody asks the pretty girls of the prom. Like, they just don't, they seem like the big whales don't get, like right now, and I think I was telling you about this, like in our pipeline. Right now, I'm helping, I don't know, give or take 50 families that are actively under contract. I bet you 15 to 20 of those are with two of my whales.
Yeah. And you weren't afraid to pick up the phone and call them.
Sir, one of those guys, I literally had had zero conversations with before February of this year. I cold called him in February. He's my number one lead source this year.
Wow. Say that again. Maybe you might need to.
Justin Brown is my number one lead source year to date in 2025. I had never had a conversation with him before January of this year. I started cold calling him in February of this year, Called him 3 times, left 3 voicemails. I called him on the 4th week. He answered. We talked. He sent me a shit lead. We couldn't do it. We called him to tell him that we couldn't do it. He sent me another shit lead. Called him, met with the client, told him we couldn't do it. Then he called me the next day and said, I want to sit down and have coffee with you. Sure. He lives about an hour away from me. I'll come up. You want to have coffee? Sure. I went up and had my current lender. Last year, I gave this guy, say he had 17 closings because of me. And I can't even get him to return calls. I don't know what's happening with our leads. I don't know what's going on. But because we had a tight business, I cold called him, left him voicemails 3 weeks in a row. The 4th week he calls, we answer, sends us 2 junk leads, knowing that we couldn't help him, but wanted to see how we handled them. It kind of to test us out. Then we have coffee. Now he sends us at least a couple leads a week.
Wow.
My number 1 lead source this year, at the end of August, I had never talked to more than 6 months ago.
And you know what's crazy? If you would listen to Circle It Back, I guarantee
if I listened to this little man in my head, I probably wouldn't even pick up the phone that day because I don't like to make cold calls.
Yeah, you might not have made the first call, the second call, the third call, and the shit lead, you probably would have been like,
I can go down a whole rabbit hole about how to make phone calls, but I'll tell you what, my number 1 trick I play with myself, because I don't like to make sales, especially cold calls, but I do anyway, is, and I've showed you these before, but I have my little army men. And I keep 10 little army men over here on my, on the windowsill. And on the days that I don't want to make calls, I line up 10 army men right here. And every call, I just knock one down. And I'll tell you, dude, there's never a time I get to the 10th army man and I feel like I want to quit. Because I like to sell, I like to make calls, but I hate to start. And if I get through the first 3 to 6 calls, then I'm jiving and I'm feeling good about myself, and then I just keep going.
That's awesome. That's you have.
I've learned how to play the game with myself.
Correct.
You know?
And that's what you've got to do. And that's what I think this, like, you've got to trick. You've got to do things. Look, we all know what needs to be done to be successful. And the challenge is our voice in our head, that's not us, gets in the way of what makes us successful. And if you can learn, and that's kind of the thought on this podcast, is learn that voice in your head is just a voice. It's thoughts passing clouds. I love that analogy. Mm-hmm. And if you can learn that that's all they are, and you know what the task at hand is, you'll be successful. And knowing that an obstacle is, in most cases, and in all cases, is probably an overcomable obstacle. It's your voice telling you it's not, but as long as you did your logical homework that it's worth the obstacle, you can be successful. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not, I mean, you're a number 1 producer for a reason, but you're not superhuman. You don't have, I mean, I think you're superhuman, but that's the voice in my head telling me you're superhuman.
You sure you I am not.
But you think about it, though, what makes you good is that you have
I'm too dumb to stop.
Well, maybe that's what it is. You've been able to tell the voice in your head to shut the F up.
I just, when I was in college, I was about 150 pounds heavier, and I just got really used to rejection. Yeah. I think I got rejected so much early in my life that I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I joke, but but yeah, that's all it is. And it's learning how to be your best self and learning how to play tricks with yourself and learning how to do that. But I really think that if you can, to tie it back and close out, like, I think that if you can get that little guy in your head to shut up and realize that's not you, you'll be uber successful, because you'll be able to go through the endurance of whatever it needs to get done whatever it needs to get done.
Yeah, I love it. And honestly, I didn't until a week ago. I thought the voice in the head was me.
Man,
I didn't know who it was. I didn't know there could be another person up in this head. And then once I realized there is, that's not me, that you can overcome the voice. It's just thoughts. It's kind of eye-opening of what you can do. And if you can shut it up, or at least observe, if you're, I was talking to someone who's like, you are probably wired that I can't completely shut off the voice in your head. However, you can learn to curb it, right? You can learn to understand what it is. And if you learn to understand what the voice in your head is, it won't overcome you'll be able to make smarter, better, more successful directions and decisions in your life.
Makes sense.
So
Cool. Well,
yeah, awesome,
man. I like that. This is good.
I know, this is a good episode. This is sometimes a lot of times, as you know, we have guest speakers on. We prepare for that. We haven't had a guest in a couple weeks. So a lot of our thoughts come about a half hour before our scheduled time together. And I honestly think they're some of our best podcasts. So
yeah, excellent. Cool, man. As always, I appreciate you. I appreciate our listeners. That's all I've got this week. Anything else, Rick?
No, I think that's it. So this podcast has ended. Go in peace. Eric Bowers, keep us out of jail.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you, man.
You've been listening to The Growth Mindset, hosted by Adam Crosley and Rick Riddle. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your colleagues. Stay tuned for more actionable insights to fuel your career success. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily reflect the official policies, positions, or opinions of Absolute Home Mortgage Corporation or Crown Home Mortgage. The content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice or an official endorsement by either organization.